Dear beloved members and friends of our small and mighty Unitarian Universalist Peace congregation, welcome. I'm Becky Suzik, and I'm honored and excited to hold this service today in honor of our 20th anniversary. I am now an interfaith and interspiritual minister because of this fellowship. Today, we gather in the warmth of our sacred space to celebrate a remarkable milestone in the life of our faith community, the 20th anniversary of our humble and determined church home. It's been a remarkable journey to here, and as we celebrate this milestone that marks the heart and soul of our Unitarian Universalist Peace Fellowship, the 20th anniversary of our very first Sunday service is aptly named In the Beginning. So we named it, the first service was named In the Beginning, and so today's service is called In the Beginning. On September 14th, 2003, a vision for a welcoming and inclusive spiritual community came to life. And for 2 decades, we have thrived and grown together as a family, a beloved community. Together, let us celebrate these 2 decades of growth, unity, and love within this UU Peace Fellowship. A spiritual home for so many of us, a hive of love for us and for our Unitarian Universalist honeybees in the back. Today is a day of reflection, gratitude, and inspiration as we look back upon our journey. We're going to hear from some among us of our UU Peace family who are here with us from the beginning, Sue Hansen and Loretta Mershon, And we'll also learn the history of our building and how it took shape as we reflect with a video from Steve McDaniel and Abe Gelbein. And then we're going to invite you here and those in Zoom to share a memory if you choose. And today's service in many ways is going to mirror the first service of those 20 years ago. And Ken already told you about the insert in the program, so we're grateful. Now, I'll share a brief story about how I found the fellowship. It was probably 14 years ago. I was Googling for churches. I hadn't been to church it was probably like 20 years at that point. How old am I? Yeah, probably 20 years. I'm old. I'm older, I'll say that. And I was doing a Google search trying to find a church home, and I couldn't find anything. And I found this obscure thing that there was this gathering that was happening at Pullen House, which is off of Durant Road. And I remember seeing pictures of people, and I was like, this is interesting. But it wasn't quite yet time because I had little children, and I wasn't ready to jump over to that. And a few years went by, and I met this woman, Cecilia St. King, who is a peace troubadour and a singer, a beautiful musician. She was traveling from New York City to Florida, and she was trying to schedule tours. I never met her in person at that point, but I said to her, hey, we should have a concert for peace in Raleigh. And she said, great, where can we do it? I have no idea. And then I remembered this little church community that met at Pullen. And then I saw that you had this building up the street from where I used to live, over in News Crossing. I thought, that's extraordinary. It's right around the corner now. They're not over at Pullen anymore. So I called the big UUFR. I called here, and I called another place to get, to see what the situation was. And everywhere wanted $500. Everyone had to have a committee meeting, like, can we do this? Who's this? You had to investigate who Cecilia was, except Peace Fellowship. Peace Fellowship on the phone. I think I spoke with Susan Holohan, and I did speak with somebody else, I'm remembering. And then they said, oh, we'll get back with you. And like within 2 hours, oh yes. And I said, well, how much do you charge? And they're like, oh no, we're not going to charge you. We'd love to have a concert for peace. We're Peace Fellowship. So we came, and I was just blown away by how easy it was. The grace, the simplicity, the inclusivity, the welcoming. Like, yes, absolutely. There was no transaction in me bringing Cecilia here. Cecilia came and did a concert here. It was fantastic. We did gifts in kind, so Cecilia received a little bit of money, and she gifted a little bit back to the church. And then 2 weeks later, I brought my children here, and we sang "All You Need Is Love," the Beatles song, and tears were rolling down my face. Like, there's a fellowship that sings Beatles music. There's like a church that sings. What? Am I in an alternate reality? And I knew I was home. And so it completely changed the trajectory of my life, finding this beloved community. And so I'm really just blown away that we're doing this today, and that I'm here talking with each of you about what this fellowship means to each of us. And I'm going to invite a couple of people to come up and share. And we're going to start with Sue Hansen. And I'm getting all teary here. Sue is one of our founding mothers, and Sue's going to explain what that means, because I don't know what that means exactly. And there's vocabulary words within our church that you come to learn. And so, Sue, shall we bring the microphone to you? Let's do that. We're going to bring the microphone to you. And I don't think we have a way of turning the camera upon you, but it's all good. We do have, that's really interesting that two of our speakers today are chair-bound. Is good.
Not for long, not for long.
No.
Hello, everyone. The idea of starting a small UU fellowship, you'll be surprised, came over a knitting group that I was involved with. Sue Timmons was a wonderful knitter, and we used to get together about once a week and knit. And we both lived in North Raleigh, and we both thought it would be so wonderful to have a UU group that was close to home. So we ended up bringing in Abby Majeska, who also knit, but Abby and Sue and I scheduled some brainstorming meetings, and Tom just pulled off the computer all of these spreadsheets of the flow charts that we that we did during the first meetings. And we had several, I don't remember how many, but I think, do you remember, Tom?
Fuller meetings.
Meetings, I think
Several.
probably 3 at least, where we invited people to come if they were interested in talking about a new congregation. And we all gathered and talked about what our goals were. And several things, if you go through these, and I'm sure each of you will want to study these. Several, yes, I'll put them up. Several of our goals were very clear when you look at it. Number 1 was that we wanted a small and caring community where everybody knew each other's business in a good way, where we took care of each other, and where we did not push for growth just for growth's sake, but rather shared our community with others. We had already zeroed in on North Wake County. We wanted to be a very welcoming community, and one group that we wanted to welcome everyone, but one group we especially wanted to welcome were children, and we wanted to make sure that the children's programming was not separate from the adult programming, that it was integrated together, and that kids were always welcome. Interestingly enough, we came from a lot of different groups. Some of us came from other UU churches. Some of us had not been to church for a long time. But one thing that stuck out was that financially, we wanted to have enough money so that we were comfortable as a congregation, but we did not want to put pressure on our members, undue pressure to raise money. And one thing a story that's kind of funny to me, at the last UU church we were at, one year pledge drive came around and they announced that they'd be making personal visits to some members. And the finance committee assigned a member to go out and visit certain members. And Tom and I don't know how we had this idea, Tom, thought it would be wonderful to have our children involved in that meeting, such an educational experience. And so we sat there, and this man came and he explained that they had looked up what Tom and I both did, our occupations, and what the average income was for those occupations. And this was the amount that they would like us to pledge. And Jessie, our oldest daughter, was probably 13. And I will never forget, she looked at this man and she said, "You have got to be kidding. We don't have that kind of money." Which is so funny because it's probably exactly what I would have wanted to say to him. But we wanted to make sure that pledging was simple and that it was based on what congregation members wanted to give and what they felt they could give without making it an undue pressure on their family. Social action was always important from the very beginning. And it was so important that at the beginning, 10% of our budget was set aside for social action projects. And not only that, but one Sunday a month was set aside to study a social action issue. And we either had someone in the pulpit talking about it or a discussion about a social action topic, or sometimes we would go out as a group and do something together. I remember one time we went and cleaned up a stream, and we would pack backpacks for children going back to school, that type of thing. And we did it actually in place of the Sunday service. We did it on Sunday morning. Music was very important to this group. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you, Cindy. And thank you to every choir member from 2003 until now. Music was something that they really wanted to make sure it was highlighted. I think the biggest issue with this group, though, was that we wanted to be lay-led. We wanted no person in the fellowship to be more important than any other. We wanted everyone's voice to be heard. We were not against having a minister, but we wanted to make sure that that minister's voice was no more important than anybody else who was here. That decisions were made in committees by members, and that was really a highlight. They didn't want little cliques talking in the kitchen about what was going to be done. They wanted it to be open and honest and very much lay-led. And what I want to leave you with, though, is that through all of this, the decisions that were made and The work we did was not based on bitterness or spite against any other organization. We simply wanted to design a fellowship that met our needs. And we agreed that as a group, we would not be vindictive or, just, we would use it as a way of growing, not as a way of looking back and complaining. So that was how we started.
And now we're going to hear from Loretta Marchand and Abby Suzik, my daughter, is going to. It's just such a joy that you're here, Abby. Is going to traveled all the way from Cullowhee, North Carolina, folks. She hobbled all the way here from Cullowhee to do this for us. Thank you. You were 10 when you began your journey here.
Yes, that was a while ago. Hello, I am not Loretta, but if you pretend maybe, I will be speaking on her behalf and reading this that she has written.
You both share such a joy of music too, though. That's why it's so beautiful. Is it on?
Sure.
Yeah, that doesn't amplify, but just project
Gotcha.
to the whole.
Sure. All right. Planning meetings for UUPF began in January 2003. Over the course of that year, we worked on our vision for this new fellowship and how to make it happen. There were so many great ideas, but I'd like to talk about one dear to my heart, music. From the beginning of our planning, there was a lot of enthusiasm for music in our services. With my years of experience as music director at UUFR, it seemed natural to me that I would volunteer to start the music program at UUPF. As it got underway, I had a lot of enthusiastic support and some very talented musicians who would be a part of the program, no arm twisting needed. Someone asked, will we have a choir? All I had to do was put out the word and voila, we had a choir of six. Half of them were Hansons. Until we had our own building, we rehearsed in different folks' homes if they had a piano. We sang at UUPF's first service. The anthem I chose is from our hymnal, Step by Step, the Longest March. We were about to take many steps to build our fellowship, and if we worked together, it would happen, step by step. You heard the choir sing an arrangement of it this morning. My thanks to Cindy and the choir. You must have read my mind. My mind, Loretta. Me, Loretta. Yes, me. We were accompanied by Chris Tacker on guitar with our daughter Jennifer singing and signing the words in American Sign Language. Right from the beginning, we were fortunate to have two excellent pianists, Abby, I don't know. Majeska, sorry, I don't know that woman. And Sue Timmons accompanying the choir. They also accompanied the hymns and provided other service music as well. I was grateful to have had them share their talents with us for the entire 8 years that I served as music director. We had no piano, so we made do with various members' keyboards until we had the funds to buy our own. Those smaller keyboards were an extra challenge for our musicians. For many years, the hymnals in our collection were donated by members in honor or in memory of someone or some group. If you look inside the front cover of many of our hymnals, you may find a book plate to that effect. Our members have been very generous right from the beginning, an indication of how important music is to our fellowship. Of course, when we met at Pullen House, we had to store our hymnals, keyboard, and other materials upstairs. We called it Church in a Box, and we were happy not to have to continue carrying those heavy boxes after every service once we moved into our new home. Gradually, our church grew, and our talented musicians volunteered to play special music. Did I mention that we have lots of wonderful musicians at UUPF? All of this help made my work easier and fulfilling, not to mention fun. I believe that all of our musicians offer a ministry to the congregation and appreciate their commitment and hard work. I would be remiss if I didn't mention how wonderfully our congregation sings and has, right from the beginning, sometimes in 4-part harmony. You are the envy of several of our speakers, some of who have enthusiastically commented on our congregational singing. I feel honored to have brought music to UUPF in the past, and am pleased that Zoom allows me to continue to sing along with the hymns and enjoy all our service music.
And there's Loretta and Dawn.
Hey.
Hi, Loretta. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you so much for putting that together so we could hear this story.
Just wanted to say thank you to Becky for finding a fine reader for my part because I'm having problems with my voice. And so she was very kind to do that. So thank you.
And Suzik rhymes with music. So the only word in the Polish language that rhymes with music. Thank you, Loretta. And so now I'd like to introduce a video that we captured when Abe was here. And I think Abe might be here with us in Zoom today too. We're going to share a video with Steve McDaniel and Abe as they share some of the story about how this building came into being the way it is. And so it was really fun to learn that myself last week and to have that time with you both. And so we can share that video if we're able to.
I'll introduce you as Abe Gilbine, and
I will introduce him as Steve McDaniel.
And we worked together when the small group we had purchased this building in 2009.
We bought the building probably in 2008, and we didn't start renovating it until about 2009. It was like in the summer of 2009. We started the renovation work.
And we transformed the place from a pizza joint and a convenience store into...
And a butcher shop.
Oh, right, that was its original purpose.
We had a big walk-in freezer, they had a big walk-in freezer in the back. And in that corner, they had a little room, and it had the heating system for this place.
I remember when we took it apart and let all the Freon
out. No, that was when we took down the hood in the kitchen.
Well, both things.
Both things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The kitchen was particularly good. We set off the fire
That's right.
suppression system.
No, it was it was that unit in there that had the refrigerant in the thing. Yeah.
But we had expected to take apart the kitchen hood, and we set off the fire suppression system and filled the whole room with fire dust.
No, it was liquid. It was a liquid. It was like an oily stuff. Yeah, I remember that. A little sticky stuff.
And then we cut holes in the concrete wall and put in these windows, and
the big job that you did, the cutting with the cement saw. We had to cut out the floor of the kitchen so we can put in a drain line. This guy, you know what he did? It was a very hot summer. I don't know when it was now. Maybe it was 2010. I don't remember when it was. But they had heating systems, what they call auxiliary heating systems, up in the attic of this building, in the roof, below the roof, but above the ceiling. And they were really in bad shape. And we had to take them down because we were going to bring some contractors in to talk about putting in some new stuff. And he comes by, I don't know what time he got here, 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Certainly before I was there, and I came down about 8 or 9 o'clock, and where's Steve? Steve is crawling up in the attic area, and it is terribly hot. And I hear the clanking and the clunking, and he's taking apart the heating system. There was a electrical heating system up on the ceiling.
Was sawing it up with a sawzall.
Yeah. I said, Christ almighty, Steve, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm almost finished. I was supposed to go up there and help him. I doubt if I could have gotten up there. I'm thinking about it now, that I may have over-aimed what I could do. But that was, I was really impressed with the work he did.
And I was impressed with you. He was in his 70s at the time, and I was young, just in my 60s. It really did both of us in that day.
It's hard for me to imagine. And this floor was a tile floor, and it was really messy. And we wanted to put the rugs down, so it meant having to take up the tiles, and then we had to smooth out the floor, make it level, putting in some leveling cement. That was quite a job, getting all those tiles off the floor.
Oh, it was a huge
Oh my God.
And all these things were messy as could be and dusty. It's a wonder we lived through it. Cutting concrete, we had a couple of young fellas who were holding a gasoline-operated concrete saw sideways with a cigarette in their mouth and a bandana over their head and cutting concrete. Those guys are
dust
still
all
alive.
over the place, and my God, they're gonna die of silicosis or something. They didn't have any teeth in their mouth anymore. I'll never forget that. You remember when we bought those two doors at the Habitat?
Yeah,
What was it?
Restore.
Restore.
Yeah.
They're these two beautiful big doors, and I think it was $125
Yeah,
a
it was
piece.
cheap. It was a door like that would cost $5,000.
Yeah. And then we took them home, and this gentleman installed them. I helped him. I was a pair of hands, and he knew what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. These light fixtures were designed by an architect for us, as a friend of the Weebies. And we had these pieces of wood cut out by a machine, again in a shop that the architect knew the folks, so it was very inexpensive for us. And then I had them all assembled in my basement.
There was a group of us, including Walter, and we went.
Oh, yeah.
We put them all together in about a day because they were all pre-cut, but they're pretty unique.
Yeah, they're unique. So, and some people didn't like it. And before we installed them, I said, we described it, we had pictures. And there was some negative feelings. So I said, well, I got to build one and bring it in. And that's what I did. So I built one myself, and I brought it in and showed it to everybody. And everybody at that point, well, most, 90% of folks anyway, said, oh, they look pretty good. So,
Majority rules.
yeah.
So, and here you see the finished product.
I installed there's a door, a window, well, I guess it's a door that drops down in the kitchen.
Oh,
It's a
right,
fire door.
right. It was a fire door,
Yeah, it's a
which
big,
was
heavy-
required.
Which we had to do for zoning.
And Abe engineered the lifting mechanism and closing mechanism.
Yeah, that
And
works.
ever since we've done that, we were told it was absolutely necessary, and
Never
nobody's
did.
ever looked at it again.
And it's got a link in it that melts when the fire comes.
So the door would
comes down
drop
by
and
itself.
keep the fire in the kitchen contained.
Yeah.
And that will do that, but we're never going to try it.
Most vivid memory I have still is the connection with our little cat, Pippi. We were just at the beginning of, in the renovation stage. I guess we had knocked out most of the old stuff that was in here, the counters and things like that. And for whatever reason, Joan and I decided we wanted to come to look at something. And we were in here, this building, and Joan looks down at one point. There's this little teeny weeny kitten, little white kitten, up by her feet, going meow, meow. And she picks it up, this scrawny little thing. We don't know how it got here. Obviously walked, but I don't know where it came from. And she picked it up, and then she comes over to me and she says, "You better not say no." And I said, "What?" Yeah, I'm taking this home. And I said, "Of course we can take it home." And we took this little kitten home.
And it's still at home.
On the drive home, we realized that this little kitten is starving. So we bought some cat food. Just picture this little kitten. It was about, maybe weighed 8 ounces, something like that, little teeny thing. We bought a 3-ounce can of cat food. The little kitten stuck its head in the can and ate the entire can. It was like a quarter of its weight. His little belly was sticking out. It was most amazing. Most amazing. Anyway, we have him. He's 14 years old now. And his name is Pippi. I called him Pippi Watkins. I call him Watkins because Watkins Road. Joan said, "No, I don't like that." So what are you going to call him? She says, "Pippi." Okay, so he's Pippi Watkins. Yeah, and then we both, I guess, participated in putting the monument together, the sculpture that Earl and Linda's daughter had designed, and that was quite something. Yeah.
Bonnie helped us,
Bonnie helped a
especially
lot.
with the
The
wiring.
electrical work up here.
Yeah.
Bonnie wired up that projector system,
And the
got
sound
that to work.
system.
And it's been renovated completely, the sound system.
Yeah.
Joe has done a marvelous job.
Oh, I know.
Oh, fantastic job.
Definitely, yeah. Well, a lot of people
A lot of
pitched
people
in.
came, and there was, we would have work weekends, and people would come, and we had jobs for them to do, landscaping or whatever. But the construction work really was either we hired some people to help us, but we were always there and doing stuff.
We're probably forgetting someone. I feel badly.
I can't
because our
think.
brains
I
are-
remember him. That's all. And I remember Judy
Yeah.
and Walter. And Walter, yeah.
Awesome.
Limb in the roof and everything that everybody who was then there at that time did to create this beautiful space that we share.
That term we embrace as Unitarians, good troublemaker.
Good trouble, yes. They were. That's right. Good trouble, and I know that we all like to have an hour-long service. We're going a little bit longer today for people, so we'd love to open up time to share briefly. And I think that Abe is Abe in the room too here? So we want to hear from Abe as well. And Tom, I see that you're raising your head. So if you want to come forth, and so we'll capture the essence of what we'd like to share, and yeah, that's great. There we go. Come.
I'm Tom Hanson. I had just a couple memories you kind of interesting. I might need some help from some other folks there. But I do remember, Ken, I remember Judy Dorsey and searching for this building. So we were in Poland House, and we decided that we need some space. We wanted space of our own. And as you can imagine, finding a location is difficult. And there were several, potential locations that, the congregation got to hear about and got to consider. And I remember, as this place was discovered, and thinking about where it was and what the location was. And I remember the kind of the excitement in the congregation as, as this place was located and a possibility, and hearing about the building and the size of the building and the parking lot and the amount of space for potential, additional uses. And it just seemed like a perfect thing. So I don't know if you want to comment on that sometime. I have one other memory that is reflected on a couple of the sheets that Sue has. And this is also related to Zoe. We'll credit you a little bit with this. So as you can imagine, as we thought about the name of the fellowship, and this was early days, as we thought about the name and we wanted it to, we kind of settled that, peace was something that was important, that, we wanted to emphasize as a group. Then of course, then the name of the fellowship would be the P.E.A.C.E. Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, but that spells puff. So, then you can imagine everything going on about puff and, do you want to use puff? And so that was kind of a difficult choice. And as you know, we've switched things around and it works out better and doesn't spell a word. So I thought that was kind of funny.
With the piece, did you come up with the abbreviation? Did you help with the?
The abbreviation came out later because
Yes.
there was a Peace Fellowship, and so we had to distinguish it. And that's why Peace is always capitalized, because it stands for certain words. But that was because there was another Peace Fellowship somewhere.
It's on the program: peace, education, action, community, and environment. That's why we capitalize peace, the whole word.
I didn't want to get into legal with that other fellowship.
So I see Loretta. I wanted to invite Abe really quick because he did say to me he wanted to say something before we met, and then we'll go to Loretta. Good spotlight, Abe. It would be great to. Hi, Abe.
Well, good morning, friends. Thank you so much for the wonderful welcome you gave to me and my family at Joan's celebration of life service held here on Saturday, September 9th. In going through Joan's writings, I came across a sermon she gave to the Unitarian Fellowship of Ulster County, Kingston, New York, celebrating their 25th anniversary. The date was March 4th, 1984, 40 years ago. As I read the sermon, I heard Joan's voice reflecting on this, our celebration. And here are a few snippets of her voice I'd like to share with you. So this is what Joan said, and I'm including UU-P.E.A.C.E instead of the Ulster County. Happy birthday, UU-P.E.A.C.E Fellowship. 20 years of hands and hearts reaching out to each other. I respect your hard work, dedication, loyalty, and love. I celebrate your determination to prosper, and most of all, your good people. This special day congratulates you on your good sense and divine foolishness to have begun this venture at all, and toast to your caring that it continues. Close quote. Joan loved the fellowship. She participated in it when she could, and it was a good time of our life. Good time of our life. Came here when I was about 70, left when I was about 80, I guess. And we are now, well, I am anyway, living in East Hampton, Massachusetts, in a senior community. So,
Thank you.
again, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abe. Thank you. Beautiful. And for those who are hearing us talk about Joan, we had a celebration of life for Joan here last week, and so our beloved Reverend Joan. So thank you so much, Abe. Now I'd like to invite Loretta to share. I see you waving at us. There we go.
I think we would be remiss in not remembering architect Carl Gaskins, who took our ideas and designed the interior of the building, which was, as Abe said, was quite different when we started. He was quite I think, a great architect, and made a real difference to what our building, compared to when it started, what it ended up with. And the other thing I'd like to mention is, you may have noticed that the round stained glass window in the wall was donated to us by UU Fellowship of Raleigh. And one other thing, some of the work that was done, they would send out word for people who wanted to do things. And one of them was to knock down a wall. And my daughter was at the stage of her life where she really wanted to knock something down. She was over here with a sledgehammer helping out. So those are the memories I have.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm not able to see who has their virtual hand up in the Zoom room. I can't see the name of the person. Hi, Sally. Hiya, Sally. Oh, can you unmute? And I don't know if you can turn your video on. We'd love to see and hear you.
You all are bringing back a lot of memories, because I was certainly there. I used to go out, and I remember the membership looked at one house in particular, because we indeed were very tired of, and I was one of the ones that was tired of carrying the books and the organ and everything up, pulling steps up to their attic kind of place. I mean, there were very narrow steps, and it would, we'd all rather be doing something else. So I would go out quite often, and often with a real estate agent. And I was going to look for a house further down the road, and the problem we were having with every house we looked at, and we were only looking at houses, was that there was not a space big enough to knock down a wall and still have a beam up there capable of carrying the load of the roof. So on our way, we passed this crab shack, and we put on the brakes so fast we had to actually back up. And that was this place, and it was pretty rough. And I remember doing some work. I mean, I like doing carpentry too, but I remember helping, very little help, for Abe and Steve. And I remember too what was amazing about them doing, and they did so much. And it was really hot up there. It was dangerously hot in the ceiling when they were working. But what the outsider may not have noticed was that Steve and Abe had completely different, how do I say that? They had completely different methods of doing construction, which were diametrically, philosophically opposed to one another. And yet they got along beautifully. They did everything beautiful. It was like watching a miracle of construction, watching them accommodate each other's working habits, getting together. And I would come and bring, if I wasn't working, I would come sometimes and bring sandwiches or whatever. Because they would come and they would just work and work and work and forget to eat and whatever. So and then the whole, we would have days where we'd have, invite the congregation to come and do stuff too. But I remember the dedication of both of them, because it was thankless, hot, dirty work every day for a while. And I'm just glad that I happened down that road. I never got to, yes, I did. We did get to the other house that I was looking for. But when I saw this crab shack and we looked up the price, and it needed to be sold. The guy needed to get rid of it. So that was, and I remember all the founding mothers, Abe, Majeska, and all the rest that did so much. And the Weebies. It was certainly Karen's welcoming smile that made me join the church from the very beginning. I mean, it was Rich that brought me, but I remember being very welcome, just as you were, Becky. So a lot of memories there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sally. That's really beautiful. And I just want to honor all of the people whose names we haven't spoken, who were part of what we are now sharing, who helped to contribute and co-create it. So, and I see Linda's here, Linda and Earl. Would you like to share briefly? We'd love to hear from you both. You were here for...
I would like to comment on some of the people who haven't really been mentioned. I don't believe the sound quality is not really good, but Judy Dorsey was one of the driving forces of getting this congregation going. She had us out in the field picking up rocks, and she was just really, really crucial to getting the church going. And Darlene and Abby Majeski, those are people who were really important to getting the church going. And
Susan Holohan and Carol Stevens were extremely important too. We should forget either one of them.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
That's it. Thanks.
Beautiful. Earl, would you like to share anything? And tilt the camera over.
Well, I mentioned that this building came up for sale. I went out there and met the owner of it, and it was a convenience store actually at that time. Previous to that, it had been a small seafood restaurant, but it was a convenience store. Anyway, I met the owner, and I told him that we were considering purchasing that, and it would become a church. And he said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "my mother would love that." He was a young man. And anyway, the negotiations went on as to price, and it was during the recession. And so Abe did wonders in terms of us being able to afford this facility, and the rest is history. And so here we are. And thanks, Abe, for all you did. And Steve, I remember you guys just pouring sweat that summer when you were trying to get this place built. Thank you.
I'd like to, Ahmed also, he was here one day. The city said that we had to fill in what was it? A grease trap out here. So it was a big concrete unit in the ground. So we had dirt delivered and Ahmed shoveled it all in there. Thanks.
I feel like I'm being the historian too. I'm like, videos, yes, we get videos of everybody sharing these beautiful stories. Well, we want to keep hearing from everybody, and we probably should do like a whole picnic party to do this. What we're going to do, we want to hear from more of us, is we're going to conclude our service, but we'll invite everybody to, perhaps we can, sit down and hear a few more shares after the service. And for those of you who this maybe is your first or your second time, this is such a beloved community that you've stepped into, and you are very welcome here. And for those, if there's anyone online who's watching us for the first time, we're grateful that you're here and welcome. We're so grateful. Thank you for everybody sharing. And so go to
407.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yes, yep. So hang on. I was going to just share that together we are strong, together we are unstoppable, together we embody the power of love and the promise of the world we believe in. Now we will have our hymn number 407. We're going to sit at the welcome table. Please stand as you choose and as you are able.